Hello Octalysis Primers. Today we're going to talk about how virtual reality, augmented reality affects gamification. So over the past few years, a lot of people have been asking me, so what about VR? What about AR? How does that change gamification? And the key thing to understand is that all these things are feedback mechanic vehicles. They deliver those core drives to the brain. It doesn't matter if it's through text, it's a video game, it's a virtual world, it's virtual reality, it's augmented reality. The key is that whether those 8 core drives are being delivered to us. And that's why you see analog games, you see virtual reality games. Now the nice thing about virtual reality is that you have more of an immersive environment, right? So you have more opportunities to bring those core drives like social influence, like unpredictability. Just because you're in a virtual world environment doesn't mean you already have these components, right? You probably have some type of experience where someone is offering you to check out virtual reality and you put it on in the beginning, it's like, wow, it's so cool, it's so immersive. But then shortly after you're like, okay, I guess I'm done, right? I'm good, and you take it off because the Core Drive 7 Unpredictability and Curiosity wore off, and there's no other game design, there's no other core drives there to motivate you. Just like anything else, just like video games, your loyalty program, you could have the platform to deliver those core drives, or you want to think about, do people actually feel socially connected? Is there a strong sense of achievement? Take these things as an opportunity. VR, AR, it's sometimes more costly to create the content, but there's more opportunity to deliver the core drives. The key is that you need to understand the core drives well. So when you design for virtual reality, the key components are still there. First of all, the world itself needs to be intrinsically motivating. Are there ways to interact with other players, or at least interact with NPCs, with animals there, whether you can actually form a bond, whether they're responsive to you? That's very important. Whether there's a continuous sense of unpredictability and curiosity, surprises, elements as opposed to just being stale. Are there meaningful choices, ways to explore this over that, playing the game differently, or everyone would have to play the game the exact same way?
So like any experience, it's so important to make sure the gameplay, the strategy, the Core Drive 3 empowerment of creativity feedback is in the experience. And once you have the right brain core drives, then you think of the other components. Now, one of the biggest opportunities in virtual reality is Core Drive 1 Epic Meaning and Calling. Remember we talked about Core Drive 1 Epic Meaning and Calling? The biggest challenge is believability. You want people to believe in what's around you. Even if it's fictional, even if it's like a dragon's taking over the world, you want to feel that it's real. And this is what virtual reality really can do. You feel like you're part of that world. You feel like things are around you. It's not from a small screen. With good storytelling and good graphical design, with good refined creation of the world, you can create higher believability, adding more to the immersive, and therefore the epic meaning and calling can play out better. Now once you have these components, then you think about the left brain core drives, right? Think about development accomplishment. Are there milestones to celebrate win states for people celebrating that they've accomplished something? Are there stages? The owner's possession are things to collect, to find, and scarcity. Are you always aware of something that you can't get? And waiting is like, oh, as long as I wait for longer, I do more desired actions, I can get it. And the key thing again is virtual reality doesn't mean it's fun, right? You have to still add these core drives, those game design, game mechanics into the virtual reality so that it actually is dynamic gameplay. Now, like I said earlier, the thing about virtual reality is creating content is way more expensive because everything has to be 3D models and they have to look realistic and they have to be high definition. So it's harder to add a lot of content as time goes by, which is the reason why if you rely on releasing new content, a lot of the left brain core drives in general, it's very expensive to sustain. So it's very important to have a lot of Core Drive 3 empowerment of creating feedback, maybe Core Drive 5 and 7, so that the gameplay is evergreen. You don't have to create a lot more and people can do the same thing over and over for months or years because they're just using their creativity and solving it. When we look at augmented reality, AR, and sometimes mixed reality, which is a totally different field, but it's very related, augmented reality really just adds what we call feedback mechanics onto the real world. If you're not sure what that is virtual reality is you go into a totally different world, right? You cover your face up, you don't see what's in front of you, you see a totally different world. Augmented reality is that you actually see the world, but the world has things on top of it, just like a Pokemon or little things pointing to say, hey, this is the restaurant you want to go to. This one has 5 stars. And so augmented reality, again, does not have a lot of gameplay in it usually, right? It's just feedback mechanics saying, hey, there's a 5-star restaurant. Oh, you want to turn left to go to your destination. And as a gamification designer, you want to make it interesting. Those feedback mechanics can introduce elements of unpredictability. Those elements can be like, hey, these are friends that you want to hang out with more, somehow, some way, right? Or this is the spot that your friends love going to, or a strategy, creativity. Hey, choose between these 5 options to change the filter or make this building in front of you a little more interesting, or leave some virtual item that everyone can see on this corner. So you still have to think about those core drives. But what it does really well is adding those left brain core drives where it's like, okay, here's the milestone, here's the theme capture, da-da-ding, win state, right? Those are the things you can do with augmented reality. So what I always want you to remember, no matter what, it doesn't matter what new technology comes out, it's still dependent on those 8 core drives. I always want you to think about those 8 core drives. And those platforms are just vehicles to deliver those 8 core drives. So how much they're valuable to your experience is exclusive on how well you can deliver those 8 core drives. They can deliver it easily. If they can deliver it well, they're great platforms. If they don't do it, if they can't do it, then they're not great platforms. So hopefully that gives you a mindset of understanding the difference between virtual reality, augmented reality. How does that affect gamification or just gameful experiences, or just generally user experiences in the future? So always have that Octalysis glasses on, and I'll see you guys next time. Prime on!